Welcome back to HigherLevelGaming. I'm Rob.
And I'm Katie.
And this is Newswatch, where we talk about the latest and greatest things happening in gaming. Today we're talking again about Blizzard, but it has to do with their successful game this time, Overwatch. Blizzard has announced that soon they may be forcing customers to link their Battle.net accounts, which they use to play Overwatch, with Twitch if they want to play the game. This is in an effort to curb toxicity on the platform, and so by linking the two, they'll be able to flag people easier on either platform for trolling or spamming or being toxic. This is just Blizzard's newest method, and they have struggled for a long time to try to get rid of toxicity in their games, and especially with Overwatch. They've already begun testing this system out, however, at the Overwatch Contenders League, which is a semi-pro tourney league for the game. It would be a pretty big change for Blizzard, and a lot of people are calling out for infringing upon people's privacy and also for being pretty inefficient. I know I, for one, don't want to have to link up a bunch of different services just to be able to play the games that I paid for. And I can also see the issues coming in with people who don't have a Twitch account or don't necessarily want a Twitch account. Those people are also going to have to sign up if they make everyone sign up, and so they'll have to create another account, and that's just one more login and one more useless thing that they have clogging up their system. On the one hand, I really don't like when companies try to control their consumers like this, but gaming does have some serious problems, as we'll be talking about in a moment, when it comes to a pro Overwatch player who quit recently and the whole debacle and scandal that is surrounding that situation. There are also problems with chat in-game and the people who make them uninviting to women and minorities. If I'm being honest, I think this really sucks. I love being able to say fuck you or express anger and aggression, and I feel like I shouldn't be banned from my games for doing so, but at the same time, I like the peace that is brought about by these kinds of practices. We have to ask ourselves at the end of the day, how much freedom are we willing to lose in the interest of security for everyone? And so in this case, I'm kind of on Blizzard's side. I think it's a good thing that they're going to be locking down, the toxic behaviors and all the crappy things that people say in chat. But I do think they take it too far in some instances, whereas there's even a tiny group of people who believe that saying things like GG are toxic now. Basically, yeah, we read about this guy, we saw these tweets, these Instagram posts or whatever that were saying, oh, it's toxic to say GG because if it's like a 5 versus 6 game and you're on the team with 5 people and someone says GG to you, you know that's bullshit. That's not right. They shouldn't say that because they're just rubbing it in. So you can't even say GG, and I've seen people who were apparently punished for saying GG because someone interpreted it as them being like a snide person or something, which is pretty crazy. I don't think that's right. We definitely shouldn't take it that far, but I think it is important that it is monitored, and Twitch is another place where people do say a lot of fucked up things in the chat, so I think Twitch will also benefit from this. And besides, being racist and homophobic and being sexist isn't acceptable, and it's important to combat that behavior, and it's not even close to the same as saying GG. My next question, however, is how effective will this be, and how many people will just tie their account to a throwaway Twitch account? How many people don't have Twitch at all? How will they be able to distinguish from someone who just created an account so that they can link it to Battle.net and someone who didn't have a Twitch account and had to create one? There's just a lot of loopholes that I can see popping up with this system. Whatever the case, it will be really interesting to see how this affects the Overwatch community and if it's an effective means of policing them.
Next up, and far more interesting, there was a fake gamer girl recently who became famous for entering the Overwatch Contenders League. So recently, this pro player named Ellie came onto the scene, and people were pretty suspicious of her because, not only was she a really skilled female gamer, she kind of popped up out of nowhere and had no previous links to Overwatch or gaming in general. So people were really suspicious if she was real or not.
People had suspected that she was being played by a pro player, but they had no real evidence for that. Eventually, Ellie ended up dropping out of the Contenders League, and this is when people really started to believe that they were a fake person.
So initially, when this person, Ellie, dropped out of the second win team for the Contenders League, people had already been suspecting her, and they suspected that she was actually this player called Punisher, who's already a pro player.
At the time, nobody really knew anything, and Kotaku ran with the story as a girl gamer who was harassed out of gaming. It was a big deal. There was a lot of news sites, actually, not just Kotaku, but of course we all know Kotaku is the #1 person who would say something like that. And a lot of sites were also saying things like, oh, this is, a sign of how toxic Overwatch is. This is how bad the harassment is in gaming. This is how bad it is for women who try to become pro players because of this Ellie person dropping out. This is all before anyone knew it was actually an imposter.
So Ellie tried to prove her identity by streaming on Twitch, but she was streaming with the person, Punisher, who people had suspected she was actually. So people started asking for her to be doxxed, and it only made
a pro player asked for her to be doxxed. An actual pro Overwatch player.
It just made things
which is
much
pretty
worse.
toxic, actually. Like, that's actually horrible. You probably shouldn't say, let's invade this person's privacy, even if you do suspect they're a liar.
Well, eventually it turned out that Punisher came out and admitted that he actually had been Ellie all along, and that he just been getting like females to do voiceovers for him while he played.
He tried to say that it was some kind of social experiment, and obviously really embarrassed both the team that was going to sign him, Second Wind, and Blizzard themselves. Blizzard tried to kind of save face when they made their statement to Kotaku, saying, they actually weren't in the Contenders League yet. We do background checks, like they hadn't passed. We hadn't done any of that yet. We hadn't confirmed their identity, so, we didn't actually mess up. But, obviously this is terrible press for them, and especially for Overwatch, which was one of their last good standing games, considering how bad the press is on Blizzard lately, considering how negatively everybody feels about the company. This is pretty bad for them, considering this is one of their only good games left that hasn't had a tainted reputation.
Yeah, and as a social experiment overall, I think it just failed pretty miserably. I think, in fact, it's only going to make people feel more confident and questioning girl gamers in the future, and their right to do so. It didn't really prove a point because he was a faker after all.
Yeah, I don't really understand what the whole point of the social experiment could have even been. Obviously, I think this person just wanted to see if they could get away with it, and they could not. At any rate, this is really going to be harmful for any girls who do play games professionally, because now there's going to be, oh, are you real, when you go into the game every time.
Yeah, are they going to be like, oh, your boyfriend's playing for you or something? You're not really playing on the controller, it's just a voiceover.
Terrible, but probably super true. I'm sure that people who read this and heard about this story are going on to Overwatch right now and saying these lame jokes to women playing the game. Which, obviously, I'm not saying, oh, these are evil people, or, oh, y'all are fucking bad for being so toxic. I'm just saying this is really uninviting for women, and this is just going to make it worse, unfortunately. So, overall, we're pretty disappointed in the whole situation. Obviously, this is going to mean a bunch of bad things for everyone involved, and it kind of just justifies all the negative things that people do say about women in games, which is terrible. This all comes on the tail end of Blizzard announcing a few things as well, and it kind of just dampened the whole mood. Well, that was it for us today, guys. Kind of a shorter video, but we hope you enjoyed. If you did, there's going to be links to more in a second if you want to watch something else. And you can also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and like this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to play some games, and have a nice day.